One, and we are live. Episode, what is this now? 7
Something
of
like
Made
that.
in the 80s. I'm your host, the graded 80s kid, Jay Boy, here with my number one sidekick, sealed VHS, Thomas Nardini. There you go. Christmas present for you, kid. For our
Hey,
special Christmas episode, I guess I got to give you some love.
yeah, you pronounced my name correctly. A big sign of respect.
I mean, I will say you have such a beautiful name for a, video game, 80s retro nostalgia nickname to just be right there. It's like a fastball right down the middle, and
I want it.
you don't want to take it, but that's all right. But we are on episode 7. This is our Christmas episode. It's an 80s podcast, so we could say it's a Christmas episode rather than a happy holidays episode. And I see we both wore our special Christmas outfits.
Up. Let me see what you got.
I got
Oh, sure.
PlayStation 1 Christmas sweater.
PlayStation gears. Yeah. I got it's themed. It's 80s themed.
I love it.
And Christmas themed.
The Don't Stop Believing. With Santa on the front, Don't Stop Believing. I love that little journey for you all out there. Don't stop believing.
Hold on to that feeling.
Hold on to that feeling. Dude, Steve Perry, huh? Jesus, what a voice.
Certainly one of the most iconic voices of all time. Raw talent and emotion and soul. Probably top 3, maybe.
You know, I heard the reason he's not in Journey anymore is because he blew out his nasal cavity doing cocaine. And he can't sing that way anymore. Which is a real bummer, man. I know a guy that was in the band for a while.
Was he had back problems and he had to get several surgeries because they weren't taking. So he had to take the time off, and they didn't want to wait anymore. So they found that Filipino kid who can sing. He really can, but he's no Steve Perry. And now it's to the point where the Filipino kid has been in the band, I think, longer time-wise than Steve Perry ever.
No way.
It's been over 10 years.
Now it's Don't Stop Believing.
Okay.
Dude, he's like Ozzy Osbourne. I have a lot of trouble understanding him, and then when he starts singing, I'm like, okay, cool, perfect. Just sing your order, Yeah.
It's crazy. I always thought it was weird too how there's people with, even if you can understand their dialect, but they have an English accent, and then when they sing, they sound like 100% American.
Yeah.
You ever notice that the accent doesn't come through?
It's amazing. I mean, look at all the 80s bands that were not that I did some. I mean, certainly at that time there was no internet and there wasn't a lot. I didn't read Hit Parader or that until I was a bit older. Dude, there's a bunch of bands that are their English sounding singing is just brilliant. I mean, look at White Lion, right? They're Swedish. Obviously Scorpions, right? They're German.
Listen to the Scorps today.
Yep. I mean, there's a bunch of great 80s bands that are not American born or British born that certainly can sing the hell out of some English tunes that they made up. But yeah, Steve Perry, I mean, that's probably the real reason, not this nonsense about his back, because I'm sure they would figure it out. Just what I heard from a guy.
They were all feuding as well at the time. This is the early 90s.
Yeah. Has he that Asian dude been in that long? I think he's Filipino, right? Yeah.
Filipino,
Arnel,
I think.
Yeah.
Arnel Pina,
something. Yeah.
Just with a guess. I don't know.
Yep. 100%. 100%. So a lot of good, I gotta say, this sweater did. I went out tonight. I'll revisit that later, but my girlfriend is out with her friend running some kind of Cleveland Christmas tour bus all around town, looking at some iconic Christmas sites and things around town, which there are some, which we'll talk about. Certainly, that. But guess what had to be brought up? Two things. Just a couple of sucker gut punches tonight for me. One, I'm there in my PlayStation 1 Christmas sweater. And every time I say that and see the logo, don't you hear that music that comes on at the beginning when the disc would first load? It was like a little magical tingle thing. It was
and then there's a little chime.
Little chime.
I can't do it, but I can hear it in my head.
Yep. 100% over and over. So the guy's like, oh, dude, I love that PS1 Christmas sweater. What's your favorite game? And of course, it's like, dude, Resident Evil, long box version, bro. I was OG, got that shit when it first came out. Nobody else was playing. He's like, oh, it's dude was probably in his 30s. He's like, well, wow, you were playing that when it first came out. I was like, yeah, dude. Like, I was playing that and telling everybody at school about that game, and no one was listening because it was one of those ones that kind of grew on the community. It wasn't a huge hit right off the rip.
It was very different at the time.
Yeah. Obviously the horror, third person, dude, it was, man. And that just reminds me of the conversation we had this week about how, here's for our drinking game, get your shots ready, that I was in on this early. And then I was out of it. And I said, man, I would have everything, me, bro. I would have bought everything up with my OCD and everything else. And I would have bought everything in 2014, 15, 16 when I stopped collecting. I don't understand. I'm looking at this shit at my house and this dude had to bring it up. What's your favorite? Resident Evil Long? Because I don't have it. It's one of the only ones, even after all the stupid money I've spent the last couple of years, I don't have it. I have a beautiful qualified VGA copy, which I love it. And, but to me, I'm one of the original Resident Evil guys. And I don't have that, and it's heartbreaking to me. And within the same 5-minute period, and speaking of which, Resident Evil horror, we're going to talk about Violent Night, Christmas movie. But within 5 minutes of that conversation, my girlfriend's friend shows up with her guy that she's kind of dating, and he's got a Packers hat on. Right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what up, bro? You a Packers fan? He was like, oh, yeah, I love the Pack all my life. And I'm like, oh, I got a buddy that's from Milwaukee, big Packers fan. And for some reason, because we're at the Christmas Story house, my girlfriend's there, the whole thing. What do? I'm like, yo, I was supposed to go to the Packers-Browns game on Christmas last year.
You and being hung up on the past.
Oh, but these are heartbreakers, bro.
I know, you're supposed to
go. I'm like, bro, I was supposed to go to that game. And he cuts me off with, dude, I went to that game. I was like, no, you got to be fucking kidding me. You went to that game? He was like, oh, yeah, I drove up. I was actually supposed to go with my ex-girlfriend, but she didn't want to go. So I took a friend and we went. And so I told him the whole story, how my girlfriend put the kibosh on it. I had a flight and the tickets and you and me and the whole, dude, the thing with girls is they don't understand. Like, I'm like, the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field on Christmas, Browns, Packers, Rodgers broke that touchdown record. The game was awesome. Like, you and I would have just been cruising around in our sleigh, like, love it. And like, girls are just like, it's just a football game. You can go another time. I'm like, no, that shit will not happen again.
No, yeah.
In the rest of my life.
No, which is literally everybody on earth other than us. I'd gotten free tickets from my dad. He had tickets. He didn't want to go. It was too cold or something. It was Christmas Day. You've never been to Lambeau Field.
Yep.
Correct. Yeah. And it just all lined up, and you didn't.
I had the flight.
Okay.
Yeah, she pulled the old. I had the flight. Yeah, she pulled the. If you don't come to my family Christmas, then I'm going to break up with you. And I took the bait, and I folded, and I never should have. And she's going to yell. Hopefully, if she doesn't listen to any of this stuff, she thinks we're nuts anyway, so she won't listen. But she's like, you haven't even learned anything. I'm like, no, you haven't learned anything. That was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It wasn't just a football game.
She doesn't understand that AFC teams don't play
NFC teams every 4 years, and then it's home and away, dude. And then it's on Christmas. And, dude, yep. That will not happen again, even if I live to be 90.
I had a place for you to stay. Yep. My buddy lived literally 5 minutes from the airport where I was going to pick you up. Everything, it would have been perfect.
Yep.
But whatever. I digress. Fuck it. What else?
Heartbreaker. All right, we're moving on. I mean, I'll never get over that, but that's all right. Because I said if I live 50 more years, which means I'd be 94, I still don't think the Browns will play at Lambeau Field, especially on Christmas. And they may not play at Lambeau Field for another 25 or 30 years.
I mean, I would think the Packers play by you next time, but even that's going to be what, 1, 2, 3, another 4 seasons.
Yes, 4 seasons, and then so girls. I know there's no girls listening to this, but man, just cut your guys a break for Christmas, please.
Yeah,
give them that moment, man. Give it to them. Oh, all right. Let's move on to something better. So obviously, speaking of the tour bus, everything else, a lot of people that don't know, A Christmas Story was filmed in Cleveland, where I'm from here in Cleveland. Was supposed to take place in Indiana, obviously, outside of Chicago. But most of the outdoor scenes were all filmed here on a house off of West 25th. Actually, it's actually around West, I'm trying to think where it's Clark Avenue and around West 30th, maybe. I forget. It's somewhere over in that area.
Hold on.
But
I can hear you without these headphones.
okay.
I don't need these.
Yeah?
This is awesome.
That, well, how do you hear me then?
I get through the computer, I guess.
Yeah, but then your mic's picking it up.
Is it? Because you don't hear it.
It must be, dude.
I mean, are you hearing an echo?
I'm not, but okay. Well, we'll just see. We'll see how it goes.
Maybe we'll have to re-record.
Maybe we'll have a new Christmas episode too.
I mean, I didn't change my settings or anything.
I don't know what to tell you, bro.
It's just so it's running all through the MacBook, the microphone and the headphones. So let me switch it to what we normally do.
Okay.
But fuck, if it sounds all right,
that saves you all kinds of problems. Sounds decent. I love that little expression that you just gave.
Your mic. Okay.
That was brilliant. I can hear you without the headphones. It was like a deaf person getting that ear implant. I do hear it myself a little bit now with the silence, but I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. Go ahead.
I can't hear you now.
Okay. Well, just go back to what we were doing before and we'll just roll with that.
Hold on.
Just go back to what we were doing before. Let's roll with that. That's what I'm thinking. Or I'll just keep talking and we'll just cut you out of this.
Keep going. Hey, money, just carry it for.
Oh, yeah. Now we got some serious echoes going on. Just take it off, baby. Take it off. Take it off like a girl on spring break.
Fly ball.
Yeah. Fly ball caught.
You got to sound more scared.
Yeah.
Ball. Caught.
Now I have a delay with you.
I should have never touched anything.
Nope, you shouldn't have.
I mean, it's back. The settings are back to how we were when we first started.
Okay, well now I can hear you normal, so we're just gonna roll with this.
All right.
We apologize to you viewers out there. You're fired. Christmas Story House is in Cleveland.
God damn it. We know this. I'm sorry. I'm vetoing you on this. You talked about this last week. It's in Cleveland. It's shot there. It doesn't take care of the extra, blah, 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 blah. Get to the point. Sorry.
It's for sale, right? The house is for sale. Yes, the house is for sale. The guy bought it in 2004, I think, or 6, and he's been fixing it up. He bought up a bunch of the properties around it. It's turned into a bit of a Christmas amusement park, you could say. And it looks, I mean, he did a really good job of maintaining the look of the entire street, the way that it looks. I think he owns about 8 properties. He owns the Dingus house next door with the dogs. So yeah, it's a great, if you come here, you should check it out. Now, the big question is, were you a big fan of the original movie? Were you a fan of the original movie?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny because it's set in what, the 50s, I think, 40s,
40s.
Yeah, but it's for me it's a big nostalgic piece because the Higbee's downtown, the downtown square in Cleveland, all that takes place, and it was shot, I think, in 83 or 84, which was when I was 7 years old, and I remember being in that area a lot, Higbee's. And so while it's a 40s piece, to me it's an 80s piece because they put some 40s cars in there and stuff, but the square and everything else looks a lot like it did in the 80s for me. So I really enjoy watching that movie, and it brings me back to the times of, mid 80s in Cleveland. And there's one thing I never noticed that I saw that was funny at the museum there. Do you realize there's a scene where the neighbor comes out to talk to the old man?
The Bumpuses?
No, it's a different guy on the street when he's like showing off the lamp, I think, and the guy comes out to talk to
Oh
him.
yeah. Yep.
Dude, he's got like modern 80s clothes on, and he even has a Miami Dolphins knit wool hat, which you don't notice that maybe unless you're looking for it.
Interesting. I'll have to this year.
Yeah.
Christmas.
So,
I mean, the Dolphins had roughly the same logo back then. So,
yeah,
but it is
1940. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they weren't around the 40s. Touche.
No.
I'm thinking 80s. You tricked me.
Yeah, of course. He's in the 80s gear in the movie.
Yeah.
So
they just needed some fucking guy, probably doing craft services.
Yep,
Jimmy,
they did. They just threw a guy. Yeah, he's got his gear on, and they threw him in. They talked about it in the museum. So, you know, I'm trying to think. I was going back to, because to me, A Christmas Story is an 80s movie, even though it's set in the 40s. There's a lot of stuff in it. And even then, there's a lot of people that kind of talk like they would more from that period. It's not a period piece to me as much as they try to make it one. Obviously, the history of the Red Ryder BB gun and Buck Rogers, the original Buck Rogers story about the Buck Rogers BB gun became the Red Ryder BB gun, which was very popular at that time. I do love it. It's a lot of stuff my dad grew up on, like listening to things on the radio programs, decoder rings, comic books, stuff from that age was really popular at that time. But you know, that led into, then we went and see that last week. We went down there. I had actually never taken the tour. I've been past that area and shown people that area many, many, many times. But I had actually never taken the tour of the house because all the interior scenes are actually filmed. Were filmed in a studio in Canada, not in Cleveland. So all the outdoor stuff was filmed here, including downtown and the department store shots and stuff like that. So I went and take the tour, and it's great. They did a fantastic job. I think it's for sale, probably for a couple $1 million. The guy will somebody try to monetize it. Could probably turn into an even broader Christmas museum place in general, because it really hammers you over the head. The gift shop is huge. It's unbelievable. They got Red Ryder BB guns, leg lamps out the wazoo. It looks like a Christmas kick line in there. But yeah, it's it led us then into going home, rewatching the old one. I hadn't watched it in a few years. You know, a lot of these old syndicated TV shows are movies that used to play constantly in the 80s and 90s. Like It's a Wonderful Life, Rudolph, Christmas Story. You know, those were bought up. The rights to them were bought up over the last 10 or 15 years as all these big companies jockey for position of the market. And so they don't show it. I mean, if you remember back in the 80s, dude, there's a reason why A Christmas Story and It's a Wonderful Life became just synonymous with Christmas in general at that time. It became so beloved, even more than they were as they got this, you know, kind of a cult following in the 50s and 60s. But the big reason was, I mean, they were just shoved down our throats over and over and over again, you know.
I mean, you could argue Christmas Story is too.
That both, I'm saying. It's a Wonderful Life, Christmas Story.
It was a 24-hour thing.
Yeah, but it like Christmas, It's a Wonderful Life doesn't play like it used to. Back in the day, dude, you could turn that on and be on 3 channels on cable in 1989, you know.
Yeah, believe it or not, the very hot Jimmy Stewart just doesn't play with this current generation.
Oh, dude, Jimmy's so great, isn't he?
I've never seen that movie.
Dude, you're pathetic. Dude, that's one of the all-time classics. One of my top 5 favorite movies of all time.
Good. No lessons here.
It's not a lesson. It's just a fantastic movie in every way. It's not even a fantastic Christmas movie. It's just and Jimmy Stewart is one of the greatest actors of all time, period. Hands down, one of the greatest actors to ever have lived.
Better than you.
Even better than you and I. Yeah.
Not us together.
Combined?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You and me versus Jimmy. We will act the shit out of his fucking ass.
Dude, his delivery is just magic, bro. It really is. His ability. His ability.
I don't know about that.
Mr. Potter, I've taken all my business advice from Mr. Potter over the years. I see people have what would Jesus do? I just think, what would Mr. Potter do? That's my big thing when it comes to business. No, not Harry Potter, Mr. Potter. Never mind. You haven't seen the movie. Mr. Potter, the basic thing is when everyone is selling, Mr. Potter was buying. When everyone was panicking, he was staying calm and
Amen to
buying
that.
up the whole town. Yes, brilliant. I always think, what would Mr. Potter do? You know, when all the video games are crashing, you should be buying. When all the oil is crashing, you should be buying. You know, that
VHS, frozen concentrated orange juice, all of it.
it's gone. Dude, speaking of frozen concentrate, dude, you want to know what the best frozen concentrate from the 80s was? Do
Five
you
Alive.
remember? Five Alive. Yes, Five Alive, bro. Oh, I love it. Dude, how good was Five Alive?
It was the best.
Oh, does that bring back the
It's
memories?
so hard to find now. So hard.
Oh,
You
they
can't
still
find it.
actually make it?
Yeah, they make it.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah.
I
Five
will say
Alive.
this: as much as the holiday season is just a pain in the ass for me and anyone who has to travel back home and then go to multiple families in multiple cities with a girlfriend, her family's dog, it's a nightmare, right? But my dad last year ordered in, I don't know how he found it, but Five Alive, the concentrate,
Wow.
the tube.
Yeah.
the-
But dude, that's brilliant. Yeah, it's
I
true.
got there. He's
Yeah.
like, I got something for you. I was like, what's that? And
Yeah.
fucking boom, glass of Five Alive. Oh my God.
Bro, and into the jug with the like that kind of weird plasticky shell with the little, teacup top that pour me out with the lid that you push the button down and it's got the kind of V-shaped perforation
That was
underneath.
technology.
What was that? I still don't know, but it was brilliant. And God, Five Alive in that just hits different, bro. And they brought back a lot of stuff. Like in the 90s, there was a couple things like Clearly Canadian. Do you remember that drink? It was
So I
like
never
a
got into it, but I do
sparkling.
remember the drink. Yes.
They brought that back recently. And then there was one other. Well, they brought Zima back. That was a 90s thing.
I actually loved Zima. I thought it tasted great.
Yeah, I was notorious for Zima. took a lot of shit for that.
Oh, me
Drinking
too.
a bunch
And then
of
I was
Zima.
notorious for the Mike's Hard when those first came out because I didn't like beer
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
And all them lady beers, you fucking pussy.
Oh yeah, Zima, forget it.
Fucking great, except I have gut rot. Jesus Christ.
Zima led to my my long-term candida infection that lasted throughout a good part of my 20s, thanks to Zima.
Get a class action
with all that. Yeah,
I'm going to steer you here. I'm going to steer you back to Christmas Story because I think you were going somewhere.
We were talking about them. We watched that, and then slowly it took a couple days to complete it because Maddie falls asleep within the first 15 minutes of everything we watch. But eventually, I was able to watch the new Christmas Story remake.
Yes.
Now, I know the timing of it couldn't have timed up right as far as everyone's ages to have that be set in the early 80s, which would have been awesome, obviously. But early 80s and mid 80s stuff has been a bit outplayed recently. So I'm not surprised that they went for, more appropriate time frame of the mid 70s. I think that was supposed to be
very well, actually. Yeah. I going into it, I also thought because you couldn't quite tell from the trailers what the time frame was, and I sort of assumed it was going to be that early to mid 80s. And then when I'm watching it, it's the 70s, and I think it does feel more appropriate for the story.
Yeah. The only thing that I think it hits a little bit more similarly to the early movie, to the original movie, because it's the 70s and I didn't see even though I guess obviously we weren't alive during the time period of the first movie, so maybe we don't really connect with the nostalgia of it as much, but I didn't see as big of a drastic gap where obviously if it would have been happening in the 80s with the electronics and Nintendo or video games or Atari or this and that, and all the toys and things that we grew up with at that time would have been a little different. But there were some cool ones that I remember. And I'll tell you one scene I loved was when they were all going through the catalog and circling the stuff that they wanted and earmarking some of the corners. I know we talked about this before. You don't remember it, but I remember the best catalog, which was here that they used to send out. It was about an inch thick. And it was just all the electronics and games and toys of the time. And man, that thing was mad. Honestly, you could probably sell all your 80s nostalgia and just buy one of those catalogs off eBay
and look through.
And just look through that every day and get your rocks off that way.
Who was that? Who sent that?
What?
You just said you got it sent to you. You didn't say
Best.
What was it?
Best. That was the name of the store. It was called Best. Yeah, the Best catalog. Best. So they were kind of like I remember when Best Buy came out, I'm thinking like, if I can remember, I'm thinking late 80s, early 90s, if I can remember correctly. I don't know. We'd have to look what year they were founded. But I remember when Best Buy came out, I thought they were just like a revamped, redone version of Best at department stores. It was called Best, Best.
I get it. Thank you.
And because that was a lot of the same stuff, it was kind of like it was like a guy's version of what a department store should be. Yeah, there was some clothes and bullshit and stuff, but dude, it was all like super cool electronics and video games and movies and cutting edge stuff at the time. You know, computers and VHS, and I mean, it was just all that kind of stuff. I've looked on eBay. There's a few catalogs available from Best, and they are so nostalgic, bro. And it's all action figures, and man, that thing. I could have saved myself a couple $100,000 by just buying one of those catalogs a couple of years ago when this all hit.
Interesting you mentioned that, because I've learned that lesson a few times, where it's like you buy something, you get it, you hold it in your hand. No pun intended towards last week's thing, but like, and it's super cool for like a week, and then you're like, okay, well, I have it. Now what?
Yeah. What's next?
What I've learned is like, dude, you can there's fucking high quality pictures of everything. Just Google image it if you really want to see it and feel nostalgic. It's right there. Doesn't cost anything. So
you're welcome, VGA. You're welcome, WADA. You're welcome, PSA. You're welcome. Here's our advice. Okay, show's over. Shut it down. Everyone just get some pictures. Like
but it's like that Sears catalog, bro. That's the one. That's the king.
Yeah.
The GOAT.
Well, the Sears catalog and the Best catalog very similar, but the Sears catalog had a lot of like, girly bullshit in there. So the Best catalog was the one that was mostly geared to.
Yeah, fuck it. All right. So here's what I liked Christmas Story 2, or whatever they're calling it, a Christmas Story Christmas. I liked it a lot. Interesting take on the story. Here's one thing that irks me about it. It's supposed to sort of be a period piece in the 70s, right?
Okay.
Ralphie's kids talk to him like they're goddamn Gen Z little shits at times.
Yeah, I know.
His son calls him a dumbass to his face.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I know.
Like, there's no way that would slide in the 70s. No, that would be the belt. And you knew you had it coming. Like, so Ralphie dimes out Schwartz for saying fuck, and he catches a beating from his mother. Yet Ralphie eats the soap for a day. Yet his own kid calls him a dumbass to his face, and he's just like, yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. There was a lot of times that I was watching that it came across as something more modern, and that's why it goes to show you it takes a really dedicated director and set team in general to pull off a period piece and really have it hit.
Mm-hmm.
And that there was a lot of that where I was watching. I'm like, it just felt somewhat modern, like it was
correct. Snowmobile though from the Bumpases was hot.
Yeah, it's funny when they said that. As soon as that shit happened, and I think they did a little foreshadowing on purpose there, but they had the first scene and there was that tree stump in the background. I said to Maddie, I was like, I'd build a snowman over that damn tree stump. And sure enough, they did it.
Same thing, dude.
Yep.
You nailed that. Period correct, I guess. Period correct revenge. But yeah, it was all right. I enjoyed watching it. I'd watch it again.
I mean, I thought the first half of it was very difficult to watch. I thought the writing was weak. I mean, this isn't a movie review show, but I just was I was hoping for a little bit more, but they kind of kept the same flavor as the original one. There was some little magic lost. I'm not sure exactly where it was lost. But yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of it. The second half was certainly better than the first, but boy, Ralphie still looks like Ralphie. Obviously there's a different actress for the mother.
No father, but rest in peace. I was thinking about this for Ralphie. What's his name? Peter or something?
Billingsley.
Peter Billingsley, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it would be so tough to play a character from almost 40 years ago that you played, let alone when you were, 10, 12. How are you going to remember all that? And I thought he hit the beats pretty well for the character.
Well, look, we were both actors. I think there's a lot of things to be said for why it's somewhat easy to direct and work with child actors, because they haven't been conditioned in their mind. Like, what is acting a lot? It's unraveling a lot of your preconceived notions about the world and people around you and all that stuff. I'm sure there's the skill of just disconnecting and being there and listening, right? But there's also the big portion of it, which is unwrapping a lot of the things that you've wound around your mind on a day-to-day basis that's made you, this is how it is, this is how I am, this voice in my head is all these things. That's why Stella Adler said, hey, being a better actor is being a better human being. That's why I think yoga and meditation and things are so helpful to actors in their careers, is because that's a big portion of the skill, right? And so you take a kid and they haven't had that conditioning for 15, 20 years like we all have. And so it's easier for them to just be and exist and tune in with the things around them without that little voice in their head going crazy. So I feel like, I mean, a lot of child actors are just being them, right?
Fair,
So
fair.
I think Peter Billingsley was being himself in the character that he played. So he just had to reconnect to that. You know, it reminds me of when
But hold on, you think about that. He's got another 40 years of real life stress, problems, experience, whatever. And it's not like, it's one thing if you're an actor on a TV show that runs for 5 or 10 years, you do that episode after episode, season after season, and you'll never forget it. But this was a kid, 12 years old, that worked 25, 30 days on a movie 40 years ago, and to just find it again. I don't know. Maybe I'm over.
Well, I could see that layer of him, though. I saw the layer of him. This is who I am as a child, which we all try to reconnect with in some way as actors. And then the layers of his life that he's probably lived in the real non-acting world, non-acting place. And those layers were on top of it. And it reminds me a lot of Robert Redford in The Natural. Fantastic 80s movie. Okay. And, you know, in that movie, he's playing a guy who's supposed to be like 30 years younger than he actually was at that time. Okay. Especially in the early parts of that movie. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I remember watching an interview, I think with Charlie Rose, if you remember the Charlie Rose show.
Awesome Charlie Rose.
Dude, that was a fantastic show, though. I mean, some really great episodes of delving into
incarnate.
Okay. So the Charlie Rose show, he's on there and he said, you know, how do you connect with a character that is so much younger than you and play that character? And he said, you have to learn to take the weight of all of your years off, right? You have to forget, because why is someone so young and loving and lovable and jovial and whatever, is because we don't have 30 or 40 years. So he's like, you have to figure out a way to take that stress and weight and years and mileage off your brain and emotions.
I definitely agree with that sentiment. It's a great way to look at it.
And then you can play a younger person no matter what you look like, because
that's one of those things where it's the work of acting that if you haven't done it, people can't fathom that. They think, oh, you just show up and you say some lines and you're rich. It's like, no,
the best part is like that they think that you're, what's the best? It's like, yes, there is a part of playing a character and you're acting. Like, I even hate the word acting. When I was teaching acting after I came back from LA and I was teaching acting here for a bunch of years in the studio I said, forget the word acting. We're going to work on the word being, right? Being, not acting, because it's not acting, it's being. It's stripping away everything that's going on around you. It's focusing on the people that are in the scenes with you. It's listening to them. And it's trying to figure out a way to just be natural, to be normal, to be interactive as your existence, rather than any kind of acting. It's a terrible word for the craft, in my opinion. Because
here's the other thing. When you are an actor, there's a million different acting methods, and one might work for one person perfectly, and the same method might not work for the other one. So for me, it sounds like I was actually the opposite of you. And well, there's two things. Let me backtrack a little bit. With actors, either they can play themselves right away, and that's what they got, or they can play anybody but themselves, and playing themselves is the hardest thing possible.
Yeah.
It sounds like for you could play yourself no problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
off the rip, like for me, I couldn't play myself at all, and it took years to get there. But I could play other characters, no problem. For me, acting was an escape of myself, because of the depression and the suicide, just the depression.
Yeah, the Milwaukee, the Cleveland. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
Midwest
Yeah, the
upbringing.
Midwest. Yeah. Can I escape that? Yeah, you can come to California for the sunshine.
Oh my God. Speaking of which, circling back to Christmas, over under how many times I'm going to hear this year? One of two things. Oh, you like living out there in California with all them liberals?
When you go home? Yeah, yeah.
The other one, don't you miss having 4 seasons?
Yeah, of course. Uh,
Over on
no. You mean that season where the clouds come in for 3 months and never leave? Yeah, I'm good without that one. Thank you.
God.
So I tried to keep a Christmas theme going this year, and so I wanted to go with my friends, but they bowed out, and so I actually somehow got Maddie to go to Violent Night, the new Christmas movie with John
Yeah, the guy from Stranger
Leguizamo and the guy from Stranger Things. And dude, okay, this is one we have to talk about. I know you haven't seen it yet, but I'll give you some references for it. I read in the description, and this is how I sold Maddie on. She's like, "It sounds like a Christmas horror movie." I'm like, "No, it's not like Krampus." She's like, what?" Like, okay, never mind. So it's not a horror movie. It's the review said it's Die Hard meets Home Alone, and I said to her, I said, "I think it's like Die Hard meets Home Alone, and Santa just is a badass who saves a bunch of people and whatever." And she was like, "Okay, I guess I'll go." So I think they knew the kind of crowd they were getting. So it's really interesting. A few previews of the movie. One, there were two movies that previewed beforehand that I thought were really interesting. You have to look them up. One was called it was called Megan. It's this movie about it's a doll. It's kind of like an AI robot doll who can kind of walk and talk and do everything and seems to be able to think and communicate. And it looks like it was done with a bunch of AI and CGI and whatever else. And it's, dude, it was literally Chucky, but as a girl and modern. Okay. You have to watch the preview for it. And it's really
Was it a
twisted and
woke
scary.
Chucky?
I don't think it was woke Chucky because they already made woke Chucky. The Chucky series
If
is
this
a
is
bit woke.
female doll empowerment, I'm out. You
Female
gotta
doll
be able
empowerment.
to-
Yeah. Well, dude, I'm telling you, you got just watch the preview. It's really fucked up. And it was literally Chucky done now as a girl, but less horror-y and more like kind of spooky suspense. But that looked really good. And then the next one that was just off the chain 80s, straight up, dude. It looked like a movie they would have made in the 80s. It's called Cocaine Bear. It's based on a true story.
Hold on. I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in. You said,
I'm in.
yeah. Vince Neil just popped up from behind your refrigerator. Did
He is a cocaine bear. Holy Lord.
did Cocaine Bear is based on a true story about some like fucking drug deal that gets dropped out of a plane into the forest, and some bear finds it and just snorts all this coke or eats it all, and then just loses his fucking mind and goes on a rampage. Dude, it's brilliant. Like, that's exactly the kind of stupid fluff, crazy shit that would have been made in the 80s. And it has a total 80s vibe to it. Like, everything about it is a total 80s movie. Cocaine Bear. I mean, dude, it was fucking amazing. That was the lead up to then see Violent Night. Now,
I have seen a lot of cocaine bears in West Hollywood.
oh, for sure you have. Uh-huh. Yeah.
That was a terrible joke. Just terrible.
I thought it was decent.
I'm gonna think about that later.
You know.
Sorry, back to Violent Night. Oddly enough, with Violent Night, me and the lady about 2 months ago, we're supposed to go to a screener of that, but she was running behind as usual.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Christmas Vacation. The mom from Christmas Vacation is like the grandma in this. Okay, which I think is great, and she's like this dirty, vulgar, old bitchy fucking cutthroat businesswoman. Okay. Mm-hmm. So seeing her in there is very nostalgic. And there is a lot of there's a little wokeness sprinkled in the whole, mixed race couples and everything they have to hit you over the head with constantly now. But it's like, dude, it is dead on. Die Hard 1, Die Hard 2, meets Home Alone with a whole bunch of super 80s nostalgia sprinkled all over it. And they don't even hold back from like referencing the Die Hard stuff. Like, dude, there's this one scene where they all jump on snowmobiles and take off. And I mean, spoiler alert, cover your ears, but they double cross like the guys who are supposed to be the good guys, security guys show up and then all of a sudden they're all on the same, oh, we're in cahoots. Dude, straight out of Die Hard 2. Exactly. And they all ride off on snowmobiles to escape, like exactly like Die Hard 2. It was amazing. And then there's a scene where I was like, wait, is this? It is. They play that Bryan Adams Christmas song. I forget how it goes, but it was an original that he wrote back in the day that got pretty popular. And there's this like scene where Santa goes off and just starts fucking murdering motherfuckers all left and right.
And Bryan Adams song?
To a Bryan Adams Christmas song, dude.
Okay. I thought you were saying Bryan Adams song was about Santa murdering people.
No, it was set to the Bryan Adams Christmas song. And I was like, wait a second. Is this Bryan Adams? Like, this is amazing. This is actually an 80s legend playing in this movie. So yeah, I mean, it is Home Alone meets Die Hard. You know, there's a little girl who's working with Santa to help save the family, and you know, on and on and on. Oh, dude, it's great. There are some we've talked about this. I think it's very difficult to make 80s style movies now because, you know, so many movies have to hit you with some stupid message or some nonsense or be super woke about stuff, and you can't really make. But there's been a few things over the last couple of years that Cocaine Bear certainly looks like an 80s movie all over the place. This Violent Night was, I know we talked about it recently. X was an awesome 80s horror flick, 80s style horror flick.
I know I asked you this. You did see Pearl, or you have not yet?
I have not seen Pearl. No, I have not seen it yet.
$5.99 to rent it. I don't know if I'm. Ugh.
Woo! Yeah, inflation,
$6.
bro. Inflation.
Oh God, my Lord. Okay.
So, you're headed home for Christmas.
Yeah.
I'm here, and then I'm bouncing around. I'm going out west for Christmas, and then back, and then to Maddie's Christmas. We'll be tied up, so this might be our only show for a little while. I know we haven't hit any new stuff.
One out sometime. We can get one in.
We'll have to figure one out. I know. Did you want to do a quick segment of Into the Wild, or I mean,
I can.
In the Wild. I know you've had quite a week.
Yeah, I will say this: like, it's just been rough in the wild lately. I haven't found any like bangers or anything, and for any of us that are, you know, quote unquote treasure hunters, you know, you take the good with the bad, and you have those hot streaks and cold streaks, and it's just been super cold lately. And then, so I just stopped. I was like, you know, I'm just not going to deal with it anymore. It's not worth the fucking gas and the time driving around LA. And then finally, yesterday, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to go out. I'm going to see what I see. If I don't see anything, fine. I'm just going to get out of the house. And by house, I mean garage apartment.
Yeah.
Shop.
Open.
So yeah, dude, and it was a fucking haul. So I'll try and bang through this stuff as fast as I can.
In the wild. The only thing I want to find in the wild is the Cocaine Bear.
You'll find him. You don't want to find him though. So 1986, first slipcover release, Clockwork Orange.
Nice. Wraparound Waters?
No, not wraparound.
But still tough find.
Got the sweet late 80s security thing though.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, that's one thing. So hey, that place where we went to, where you got all the black box Nintendo.
That guy's still alive. Okay.
Barely. Yeah. So I go there and I see new shit. Like, he never has magazines or anything. I'm like, what the fuck? They're like the counters are just filled with random stacks. I'm like, holy shit, what the fuck? So I start looking at them. I see like Electronic Gaming Monthly, Game Pro, and then I
Game Pro's making a comeback. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, we'll show you the first of those. He had a whole bunch, and I probably should have grabbed more than I did. But I grabbed this one, really clean copy.
Ooh. Sexy Game Pro with Ninja Turtle tournament fighters on the front. Love it.
Complete all inserts. It's a thickie, man. I don't know if that really.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then somewhat of a rare game on the back.
Sunset Riders. Yep.
Let's see.
You know, Game Pro was interesting because it covered, dude, those are really nostalgic and they were kind of forgotten about. I mean, I
My
remember there was
mother,
ads in there for different computer games and yeah.
dude, and there's probably a stack of like another 25 of them, all nice shape like that. So,
Mhm.
oh yeah, with all the stuff on the counters. So apparently, some kid, or no, he's not a kid anymore. Some guy came in. It was his whole 80s, 90s video game collection, magazines, games, everything, and he just sold it to him, probably super cheap. By the way, Gary's making it sound. So Joseph Brockfeld.
Oh, I love
All
with the
this
names
shit.
on
Now,
there.
the
Yeah.
Nintendo Powers weren't. I think someone might have got there before me because there was only a couple, and I just grabbed the clean ones. Nothing crazy. But this one, which everyone calls issue 95, but it's really issue 68. It was a bonus issue. If you're a subscriber, they sent it to you. Still in the original shipping thing here, and the label's on the shrink, not the
Oh,
actual
that's good. Yeah, because on most of them, it's so difficult. You
book.
just have to have it with it on.
What's kind of cool is it has this came with it. Some kind of Killer Instinct cards or something.
Nice. Still sealed.
Still sealed. And then inside of this one, I'm assuming it's still there. I haven't even taken it out of the shrink yet, but there's a Donkey Kong Country iron transfer, iron on, like that you would put on a shirt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's cool.
Dude, what is that in the background? Autograph?
What?
Up. Autograph.
Oh,
The band?
yeah. I found this in the wild actually last Christmas.
Motley Crue with special guest autograph. Wow.
Wednesday,
An
October 30th,
ultimate.
Halloween show at
Ultimate.
the Mecca Arena,
Oh,
which will mean nothing to anyone unless you grew up in Milwaukee. It was where UWM played, Marquette. It was legendary, dude. Legendary. And there's the boys.
dude, autograph. One hit wonders, bro. Big time one hit wonders. You know it?
Turn up
Up the radio. I
Give me some more.
know.
These are really cool. I didn't even know this was a thing. Ninja Turtles magazine.
Don't know
Same
it.
kid, subscriber.
Raphael.
Dude, his parents loved him. He had
Yeah.
Game Pro, Nintendo Power, Electronic Gaming Monthly. This dude, I've been looking for this forever. Forever. So this is a personal grail. I don't think it's worth a ton yet, but this thing is going to be a 9.6.
Street Fighter 2 strategy guide from Grain Pro. Nice. Love that
Dude,
front artwork, dude. Wow.
it is so minty. Like, I don't
Beautiful.
think he ever opened it. There's
Wow.
no, like on the qualified, it has that like line.
Mm-hmm.
But so for magazines, there's nothing, dude. Stunner.
Wow.
And then, not a grail for me, but a grail for a lot of people. Same guy.
Yeah, Earthbound. Player's
Dude.
Guide, Mint. Yep.
Mint. And this
Yeah, you
has
found
6 trading cards in it, like Earthbound characters, and they're all still there. Everything, dude.
wow.
Sick.
Some good finds this week. You had other stuff you showed me too.
I'm coming, baby.
Oh, okay.
All over This was, again, I actually never played this game, but it's just so cool to have a minty copy.
Oh yeah. Game Boy Zelda Link's Awakening first release.
Yep.
Super clean. Yeah, those have done well recently. There's any Game Boy games are hard to find in good condition. The box, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I
looks
think
like
it's
a
gonna be
solid.
I think 8.5 maybe. It's the camera's not showing all the little flaws, but it's clean, man. There's no real like scratches or anything. Really nice copy.
Dude, CIB stuff is the really rare stuff is doing really well the last few months as everything else has cooled off. I mean,
I love
I've
it.
seen some big sales of Zelda and Punch Out. Nation's number one. Jaws on Laserdisc. There you go.
No, this is the 1975 LP soundtrack.
Oh, okay. Wow.
We'll see. I mean, they're going to start grading
LPs
them.
are coming.
Yep.
HMA is coming. That'll be big. I mean, I think anything John Williams soundtrack wise, anything with big iconic story. Did you just wiggle your hips in front of the camera?
Dude,
Love
you know
it.
what? I was honestly in my head.
Yeah.
Turn up
Nope. The radio. I just picked that up on cassette.
On theme.
Love it. Santa Claus the movie brought me to my home. Yep.
Crazy. Media. Who would have thought media? Another one.
Halloween, the night he came home.
Yeah.
Media. Love
Obviously
it.
not sealed,
The
but
84. Yeah.
yep. I think this is earlier, bro. 81.
81. That's right. 81. Yeah.
Because the 84s are just slip cover, correct? They don't have
Maybe.
the
Yeah. 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 The full box. Yeah.
yeah.
There's not a
And
lot
then
of those either.
what?
The 84s.
Oh no, man, it's tough find, dude. And this might be the coolest, not worth a ton, but coolest thing from that same kid's collection. And there was more stuff like this. I just didn't have time to look through everything, but I got these two pieces.
Nintendo Entertainment System invoice
Original receipt. It's hard to see, but first thing there,
from 2020 video. Uh-huh.
Link to the Past, original receipt.
Oh, wow.
And it's just
Love
kind of
that.
a cool piece. And then
Yeah.
this, dude, how many of these are left in the world?
Mega Man X2. What is that? Some kind of mailing card?
There's a postcard sent to his house letting him know the game was coming out.
Wow. God, some of this stuff is so cool. I don't know if it'll ever be worth much, but it's
Yeah, that's the
interesting
thing. It's
stuff
just
to
like,
have.
yeah. Crazy. The
Well,
battle
good.
begins February 1st on your Super Nintendo.
Still the
Oh.
greatest system ever.
The X Hunters are after me again, and I need your help. As a team, we can find all the hidden weapons and attack vehicles. I must stop the threat once and for all. Bitchin'. Yeah, again.
Dude, isn't it great to, now everything is so instant and you would get this little magical pieces in the mail and things would take time to communicate. And I don't know. It was out.
I wish I had parents. I love my parents, but like that, man, this kid had a childhood. Every magazine subscription he wanted, all the video games. He had subscriptions to comics. I mean, most of them were 90s shit, so I didn't want to sift through it, even though I'm sure there are some gems. They were still in the original shrink. I didn't know this, but they came, if you were a subscriber and you didn't go to the comic book shop, they had like 2 pieces of backing board on each side in the mail. And then there was like, X-Men prints on it or whatever, but just interesting to see.
Motherfucker probably had Power Wheels too.
Oh my dude, I wanted Power Wheels so bad when I was a kid. I never got one.
Only the most baller rich fucking kids had that shit.
I wanted the Bigfoot Power Wheels.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. I asked every year for it in the Sears catalog or our local Toys R Us. Never got it.
Yeah.
So now I got to find a sealed one of those.
Well, I hope you get something good for Christmas that you want. Something 80s like, whatever. I know you got a gift in the mail coming from me. I hope you enjoy it.
Appreciate that. There is one more thing I want to hit if you're trying to wrap this up.
Okay, hit it.
I want to hit one of the better new songs I've heard in a long time, and it's from a quote-unquote joke or comedy band, but
yeah.
An amazing single, and it references, we've said this for years, that this is the best year for pop culture, certainly within our lives, American pop culture, maybe of all time. The single is called the same, 1987.
Oh, God, yes. You sent it to me. It was amazing.
We didn't really talk about it, so what were your
You
thoughts?
skipped over the band.
I said Steel Panther.
Okay. Kind of cut out. Steel Panther, 1987. And what is it? I mean, when you and I first met, I've always told you, 87 is my favorite year of my life. I don't know why exactly. There's so many great movies, so many great albums, so all the great video games. It's one of the things, it's a bummer of looking, I got back into the games late, and so I had to kind of settle for getting the later releases of some of my favorite NES games, even though I had them in 86 or 87, like Zelda, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, Contra, all those games were around 87. Appetite for Destruction, Open Up and Say I think was 87. Slippery When Wet was 86 or 87.
That's 86.
Yeah.
Close.
But it's all in that time frame,
Every decade has its peak year, right? And 87 certainly, I think, is not there.
I thought it was just me, honestly, until I started sharing it more with you. And certainly, once the 80s made their big comeback the last couple of years, there were a lot of people that started referencing sometime, but I still hadn't heard it as much until you showed me that song. I'm like, wow, it must be a lot of people that really relate to 1987.
So let me name some 87, just in case people aren't aware or weren't alive or need to be convinced. If you're like, no, let me tell you, 1989, that was the year.
Yeah.
Desert Storm, everything was it. No, it's 87.
Don't fuck with Schwarzkopf.
Storm and Norman.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. All right.
Pro set Desert Storm cards. Boy, aren't those worth anything yet?
I think one or two of them actually. Oh yeah, I want the Saddam.
The Saddam.
Rookie card. Yeah. I want a PSA 10 Saddam so bad.
Yeah, Saddam rookie, bro.
Just for that better be my Christmas present. Okay, so
I'm sure Saddam has a soccer rookie card somewhere.
One of the biggest albums of all time. Dropped in 87. Our favorite album, Appetite for Destruction. That
100%.
alone would take the year. But dude, you got Girls, Girls, Girls by Motley Crue.
Yep, that's my favorite album of theirs, and it's one of the worst, but it's because it's from 87 and I remember it so vividly. Yeah.
And what did Nikki Sixx want to name the band originally?
Oh yeah, what was it? It was in the movie. Okay.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Steve.
Yeah.
Def Leppard's Hysteria.
Yep.
In Excess Kick.
Yep. Well, I know all these are from that year. And it's just that year just bangs out in my head like no other. I was 10 years old.
White Snake, Still the Night.
Still the Night. Here I go again.
If you're a moron, Joshua Tree.
Gross. Oh, I mean, it's a couple great songs, bro.
I'll say it's an iconic album. I don't like it well, but it certainly adds to the argument that 87 is a hell of a pop.
Still haven't found what I'm looking for. Must have played 8,300 times every day on MTV in 1987. 100%.
As far as recapping literature, the finest piece of literature of the 80s from 1987.
Playboy? Oh, sorry.
No. Sears catalog, Christmas catalog, 1987.
Christmas. First release?
It is not a first release. No.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to go down some of the movies. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yep. These aren't pillows.
Princess Bride.
Yeah. I am Diego Montoya. Yep. Full Metal Jacket. Yep. Spaceballs. Epic. Yes.
Predator.
Oh, my God. So, yep. All the big
Dirty
hitters.
Dancing.
Dirty Dancing. Okay.
Iconic, though.
Yes, iconic. Not one of my favorites, but go ahead.
Hellraiser.
Yep. Thanks. Kicked me in the dick after I passed on that one last week.
Untouchables.
Yep. I thought that came out in 88, but okay.
Lethal Weapon.
Yep.
Lost Boys.
Oh, God.
Overboard.
Yep. Goldie Hawn.
Adventures in Babysitting.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Masters of the Universe.
Elizabeth Shue. Master of the Universe, 87. Yep.
Dolph
Lundgren, Wall Street. Oh, my God. These are all of my favorite one. Mannequin. Mannequin is one of my all-time favorite movies. There's some reason, something happened in 87 as a human being for me that I just paid attention to everything. Like everything. 86 and 87.
I got two more bangers. And Over the Top.
Oh, yep. Meet me halfway.
Dream Warriors.
Dream Warriors.
Rockin' with Dokken. There's the Dokken reference. Also, I heard a story that Robert Englund, who plays Freddy Krueger, during the Dream Warriors.
Wait, Freddy's not real? Okay, go ahead.
He's like Santa. He's kind of. Don't stop believing. On the set of the music video for Dream Warriors, obviously he's playing Freddy, right?
Yeah.
And he's having a real good time. He's just cutting loose. The movie's done, and he's sick of playing Freddy. Then apparently it was a very, very stressful shoot, low budget, tight time parameters. Everybody hated everybody. Anyway, so now Robert Englund's having
Johnny Depp. Go ahead.
On set with Dokken and partying a little too hard, and then he ends up grabbing the glove, right? A bag of cocaine, and has each member do a bump off each fucking claw of the glove.
Not Patricia Arquette, never.
No, just Dokken, bro.
Oh, the Dokken guys. Okay, I was gonna say.
I'm saying it was on set for the music video.
For the music video. Okay, I thought you meant for the actual movie
itself.
No, I was gonna say they had a pretty good budget for that one.
No, it was only $4.5 million. That's nothing, dude.
Oh, well.
Because Nightmare 2 sucked.
Oh, terrible. The production value of that is garbage.
Well, and then so they rushed it. Did you know
Yeah.
Nightmare 2 came out less than a year after Nightmare 1 released?
Wow.
Obviously, Nightmare 1, big hit, right? So the studio, as always, oh, we got to keep this thing going, crank it, crank it.
Yep. Yep.
And Wes Craven's like, no, 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 let's just take time. Let's write a proper sequel, whatever. And they're like, yeah, go fuck off. We'll have somebody else do it. So they have them do it. It's a total piece of shit. Third one, they're like, okay, yeah, I guess you were right or whatever.
Yeah.
Wes Craven, can you write it again? So he writes it with his writing partner, and they're like, yeah, it's kind of good. It's just not, basically, it's not commercial enough, as always, right?
Right.
So they take pieces of it and then they have somebody else rewrite it and then kind of push Wes out again. But yeah.
The third one is great. I mean, it really is very typical 80s. But so Nightmare 3 was 87?
Yep.
Yeah, of course. All the shit I remember the
all
most
those
is
movies I
87.
just named are 87, bro. It's unbelievable. Harry and the Hendersons, Witches of Eastwick, La Bamba, Less Than Zero. There's another great movie.
Those are just all the movies that I remember so vividly of my childhood. I don't know why they're all from the same time period. It's like, all right. Well, look, Merry Christmas. We got to wrap it up. I got to get packed up for my trip early in the morning. Let's finish it off with a little over the top.
Okay.
Meet me halfway
Across
the sky, up where the world belongs to only you and I.
I just wanted you to do this solo. That was so good.
Thanks.
You got honey in your
Appreciate
voice.
you. Oh, yeah, I got honey in my butt too. But you ain't gonna get any of that.
That took a turn.
All
We're
right,
fucking
bro.
1 second we're singing Kenny Loggins, and then we're talking.
I'm a simple man, simple pleasures. Merry Christmas to you all, and to all a good night. We'll see you next year.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everyone.